Players, it is your boy Shadow Wolf here, coming at you with a brand new video. So I was thinking of doing this weekly series where we predict every game for the NFL week. If I have your team losing, do not be offended. It's probably because your team is fucking shit.
Shadow Wolf is the go.
Houston versus Cincinnati. Wow, did they both have an incredible week one. Houston getting absolutely destroyed by Jacksonville, who is a pretty good defensive team. Like, they're not bad. I mean, I think Blake Bortles is going to have a nice year, but still, they should have put something on the fucking board. Even though they still have that quarterback controversy, I think they should start Watson, get him some experience. I don't think Savage is going to be the greatest quarterback. The only issue with this is, though, the offensive line is struggling. And Cincinnati didn't score 1 point against the Ravens, who had Andy Dalton had 4 turnovers or something ridiculous. He got absolutely booed out of the game, honestly. It's really disappointing. They've got to set their second straight in Cincinnati. Andy Dalton, this is a very important game for his future, and I think he bounces back. Not by a lot. I think Cincinnati gets the win 17-10. Next game is Arizona versus the Colts. Johnson is injured. I'm glad I do not have him on my fantasy team. And Indiana is pretty much, that's the only luck they have because I don't have any other luck, especially not Andrew. Alright, that's not that funny. I don't think T.Y. Hilton's going to be able to carry much of the load on offense with such little luck that they have. I mean, Colts just still don't know who to start at quarterback, and it's just really half of them at the moment. And Arizona is honestly just a much better team. Even without Johnson, they're still going to make life a living hell for Indiana. I've got Arizona Cardinals winning 28-6. Cleveland versus Baltimore. I mean, I think the Browns are going to surprise people this game. Baltimore absolutely played incredible defense last week. There's no question about that. Kaiser looked very good, though, for the Browns. And Cleveland will probably lose another heartbreaker, but I think they're going to play well as well. Cleveland gave Pittsburgh a scare. I know Pittsburgh could have played a lot fucking better, but you just never know. Kaiser looked good, but Cleveland's going to lose another heartbreaker in my opinion. 17-21, Baltimore has this victory. Next game is the Chicago Bears versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I mean, Chicago has pretty much no depth on wide receiver now. And the crowd at Tampa Bay would be absolutely nuts. Honestly, Winston's going to go ham. I bet you he's going to run all over the Chicago defense. Not much more to say here. I've got Tampa Bay winning 10-33. The next game is Minnesota versus Pittsburgh. I think this is going to be a very good game. Don't sleep on it. I think it could go either way. I mean, even if Pittsburgh starts off so like they did, they've got the best wide receiver in the league on their team in Antonio Brown, and he can get hot in a second. It's crazy. Sam Bradford looked pretty good against New Orleans last week. However, I reckon he's going to get injured. He probably won't get injured this game, though. It will be a good, close game. Pittsburgh usually struggles at the start of the season. They lost last year, I remember, to the Eagles. I'm an Eagles fan. That was fun. I thought Pittsburgh would destroy us. They tend to struggle at the start of the season and then make up for it. So I've got Vikings edging out the Pittsburgh Steelers 20-17. The next game is the Titans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, as I said, the Jaguars absolutely dismantled the Texans, which aren't the best team. They've got a pretty good defense, but on offense, they absolutely have nothing. So it's expected, and a lot of those points were actually from defense. But Tennessee's also struggled their first game too. And even though they have a very good team coming to this year, I think that they're going to take a few games to mesh. Murray needed to play a lot better. And Mariota, the offensive line is letting him take some big hits. He needs to be better protected a lot. Jags have a very underrated defense as well. They had 10 sacks on the Texans. Seriously, it was absolutely crazy. Bortles versus Mariota will be very good, but I think Titans struggle for the second week in a row. Not to say that they're going to struggle all season, but I've got Jacksonville winning 28-13. Next game is New England versus the New Orleans Saints. The Patriots D is just a little bit subpar. They're not the usual self. And even though Brady's going to be really fired up, really fucking wanting to throw the ball, I think New Orleans is actually going to win in a shootout. I mean, Brandon Cooks returning to New Orleans is going to be very interesting. I think he's going to make some pretty big plays. I don't know how the crowd's going to react to that. But Drew Brees is still Drew Brees. And honestly, I think New Orleans is going to win a shootout 33-27, and New England starts the season 0-2. Next game is Buffalo versus Carolina. The Panthers D looks pretty good, as always. But I mean, look who they were playing. Come on. Tyrod Taylor versus Cam Newton is going to be a very fun matchup. I reckon there'll be a lot of sacks and turnovers and a defensive game. But I have Buffalo actually upsetting Carolina 16-10 in Carolina. For some reason, I see Carolina struggling on offense this game against Buffalo. I know Buffalo only got a win against the Jets, and they're a pretty shit team, but I feel like Buffalo is going to win this one. It's just my feeling, so don't at me. The next game is my Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Wentz played absolutely crazy last game, and Berry is out for Kansas City, which is very big. Eagles have a lot of injuries last time as well, such as our Darby's injury, which we are already short at cornerbacks, which is really shit. I think LeGarrette Blount's going to find it challenging trying to power through Kansas City's crazy defensive line. And the Eagles' O-line is very good, but look, Hunt had an absolutely crazy game, and he's just going to build momentum, and I think Chiefs are going to slightly edge out the Eagles 17-21. So Miami versus the Chargers. I mean, Chargers gave Denver a scare last game. Like, they played pretty well. The defense is pretty solid. Rivers looked alright, and it's their first game in LA of the season. But obviously Miami's going to want to play for the city. But look, they're starting Cutler, so I don't have much more to say about that. I think Chargers are going to win 17-24. San Francisco versus Seattle. San Francisco's offense still a bit trash. They were 2 of 11 on third downs last game, which is fucking absolutely shit. Seattle's defense looks pretty good, as always, and we'll probably want to make a statement versus San Francisco. It's up in Seattle. They always play really hard D in Seattle. Legion of Boom's looking great. Earl Thomas is looking crazy. Cam Chancellor, really, really looking strong. Wagner had a good game. Richard Sherman's going to lock down. I don't think San Francisco's going to have much offense on them. Eddie Lacy's going to be just going to really want to make a statement, especially not playing too well against his old team, the Packers, last week. And I think Tyler Lockett's going to have a very great year. He was looking very, very good on a very good Packers defense. I know the O-lines can always struggles, but I still think they're easily going to get past San Francisco 10-24. New York Jets versus Oakland. I mean, the Titans are a good team, but they were very much struggling. So I'm not taking anything away from Oakland, but they should have dismantled them the way the Titans were playing. They defended Mariota very well on the run. Lynch is going to get a lot more touches for Oakland. And Carr is absolutely amazing. I think that they win 28-10. Dallas versus Denver. Now, I'm assuming that Ezekiel Elliott will be playing this game, even though his trial has been taken to the High Court. But, look, the defense looked pretty improved for Dallas against the Giants. I mean, the Giants didn't have much on offense. OBJ was out, but that's still not an excuse. Prescott and Elliott, I feel like are going to have a very hard time on the Denver D. They didn't have the same game one as they had that last year. They weren't the same. But I reckon Beasley, Whitten, and Bryant will make enough plays to somehow put Dallas past Denver. I mean, Simeon's been very good, but the Denver just can't get that much on offense. And I don't think that they're going to get past Dallas. I think Dallas can make enough plays just to win 17-14. Now, Washington versus LA Rams. This is going to be a very interesting game. I mean, Washington was in striking distance all of last game against the Eagles, but they choked at the last minute. Washington's defense looks pretty good as normal. They made some pretty good plays. Wentz just outplayed them on offense because he's Carson Wentz and he's friggin' amazing. Cousins wasn't bad, but there was definitely not enough offense that game. Rams played pretty great D last game. They absolutely shut on the Colts, but I mean, it is the Colts. Joff finally had a good game. That's probably his first game he's ever had. Gurley looked explosive. I still think Washington's going to win, though, in a nail-biter. It's going to be a heartbreak in the Rams. And Washington's going to win 2017. Next one is Green Bay versus Atlanta. Well, we found out last week Montgomery is no joke. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. The Green Bay defense looks just as good as ever. They're not having much problems with their receivers. I think Atlanta will struggle running against the Green Bay defense, and the Green Bay offense is just going to take them out. I feel like Green Bay is going to win 30-20. And the last game is the Detroit Lions versus New York Giants. Boy, did Detroit surprise a few people last week. The Giants' offense was absolutely struggling, whereas Detroit's defense had 4 turnovers against Carson Palmer last week. Absolutely crazy. Stafford was looking very good. And Giants' D is absolutely no joke, but Detroit can get enough done to stop them. I've got Detroit winning 17-6, and OBJ is really going to have to earn his contract this year. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed these predictions as much as I did giving them, and have a good day. Peace.